Hello and welcome to Home with Sarah Jane. In today's video, I am sharing a quick flip through of The Good and the Beautiful's High School Honors book study, Little Men. If you are new here, hello and welcome. My name is Sarah and I'm a homeschooling mom to two girls, ages 11 and 15. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for stopping by once again. I do really appreciate you. So I shared in another video that I'm going to be doing a lot more flip throughs on curriculum because I find it really helpful to see inside a curriculum or a resource that I want to use in our homeschool before I purchase it, because, you know, things can be really expensive and they start adding up. And one of the things that my high schooler is really enjoying is The Good and the Beautiful's high school year 1 language arts course. She is really liking that. But the problem, well, it's not really a problem, but the thing with that is that she is finishing up that course a lot sooner than I had thought she was going to. So I decided to throw in a high school honors book study by The Good and the Beautiful for the end of her freshman year, just to make sure that she is keeping up with the language arts and she doesn't, you know, finish the course too early. So she is set to actually finish her language arts course, the year 1 course, in like, I don't know, March. And we homeschool until May. I'm going to have her kind of fill in that small gap with this high school honors book study. Now, a couple of things before I start the flip through, I wanted to mention that The Good and the Beautiful has 3, or at the time of me filming this, they have 3 options for you when it comes to a high school book study. So they do also offer Pride and Prejudice and the Screw Tape Letters, and then of course what I'm sharing with you today, Little Men. Now Bella chose this one because she loves the story of Little Women. It's always been one of her favorites, so this was actually, you know, something that she was kind of excited for. So she's really looking forward to completing this one. But again, she is my language arts kid. She loves to read, she loves to write, so this is definitely something that she is looking forward to. Okay, so here's everything that comes with the high school honors book study if you purchase it as a set at The Good and the Beautiful. So you have the high school honors book study, Little Men, Life at Plum Field with Joe's Boys. Now this is the workbook here, and then you would also need a copy of the actual book. And as you can see, this is a pretty thick book. It's not too bad. You know, I think it's just under 300 pages. Yeah. Now, the main goal of the honors book studies are to help the student learn to analyze, appreciate, and gain inspiration from good literature. Now, they're also designed to be used in addition to the high school language arts courses for students who work maybe at a faster pace, or, you know, for students that need more challenging work. When it comes to the actual book, this is just a regular old chapter book. Again, it's just under 300 pages. There's not much more I could really say. It's a book. Okay, so now let's take a look inside the high school honors book study. Now, again, this one is on Little Men, and this book study is not really thick, but there is so much information in here. I was actually pleasantly surprised at how much they were able to fit in these book studies. And again, these book studies are not meant to take place of your child's language arts course. It's supposed to be used like on top of the language arts course. So just keep that in mind. Now this section is just going over the book study, you know, how they should be used. Again, that's very loose because when you homeschool, you can make changes and kind of use things as you want to, but it does give you an idea of how they intended for these to be used. And again, these are student-directed booklets that they will be completing alongside the book that they are reading. And it does go into, you know, new challenging vocabulary words and writing skills that go along with the book. So just keep that in mind. They are meant to be a little bit more challenging than the high school courses that The Good and the Beautiful offers. Now, the goals of the honors book study is kind of like what I was saying earlier. It's to analyze, appreciate, and gain inspiration from good literature. And then it talks about how many honors book studies should be completed. Now, these book studies are not designed to take the place, like I was saying, of high school language arts courses, but they are designed to be used in addition to the courses for students who work at a faster pace and can use more challenging work. So they could really do any of these honors book studies in any order. year. They could do 1 a year. They can do 3 in a year. I mean, it really all depends on how you want to do that. But just keep in mind, at the time of me filming this, there is only 3. So for like my daughter and myself, we plan on maybe using 1 this year, maybe 2 if she needs it. But we're hoping that we could kind of space these out and use these each year, or at least for the next, 3 years, for her high school, to just kind of, give it a little bit more. Now, again, you could do these in any order. It doesn't matter if you want to start with Little Men or Pride and Prejudice or the Screw Tape Letters. That's all up to you. Again, we just went off of what my daughter wanted to start with, because this is the one that she was most interested in. Now, it also gives you a section for what materials are needed. And again, it's not much. It is this booklet for the study. It is the copy of the actual book. And then it does state that she will need, or your child will need, a computer or laptop with a basic word processing program. So that could be something as simple as like Word, and then they will also need a pencil or a pen and a journal or a notebook. So really not a lot of supplies are needed for this. We're now at the at a glance section. Now, at a glance, it goes over everything that it's going to be covering throughout the booklet. So it talks about the vocabulary, how they're going to be using challenging vocabulary words throughout Little Men. Again, that's pretty much here. As you can, I went too far, guys. So as you can see, you have like 2 pages of vocabulary words that your student will be working on. There is that correlated literature study, so the overview of other works by the author, and they will also be studying the character of the author as well. So it is a little bit of like a biography as well that they'll be reading through. There is literary analysis, which is, studying the themes and messages throughout Little Men and also analyzing the literature value of Little Men. And then again, it has that author study that I was just kind of touching on. There's a biography of the author in here, and then they will be practicing some more writing skills. So they're going to be reading and analyzing response papers. So there are examples in here that your students or your child will be reading through. And there's also an area where they're going to be writing their own response paper as well. And then there is just some general writing and writing instruction and practice throughout this book. So first up, we have vocabulary words. So these are the vocabulary words that your child will be working through. And let me just say, these are some challenging words. Like some of them I'm here reading and I'm like, wow, how do you pronounce that? Or how do you use that word? So this is definitely something I was learning from as well. And there are 2 pages of those vocabulary words for your student to be working through. Now, here is section 1. They did break this honors book study up into 3 sections. And section 1, they're going to be reading through certain chapters and then completing certain work before they move on to the next section. So here it says that she needs to complete the vocabulary activity for this section, and when she does, she'll just check this box off, and then she would read the correlated literature portion of the section. It also gives her the chapters down here where it says read chapters 1 through 9 of Little Men. So she will also be reading the article Discerning the Value of Literature in this section. So did I say that word wrong? Discerning. No, that's right. Okay. Again, I think I'm hungry. But again, so this is what she's going to be completing in this section. So here's the vocabulary that she will be completing. It tells her to circle the correct word below using the vocabulary key on pages 3 and 4. So here it starts off really simple with this vocabulary where she just needs to go ahead and circle the option or the word for each sentence. And then there is the section of correlated literature where they just kind of go over some of the, I guess we could call it understanding the background of the book and understanding the author. So there's some information here about that. It goes over the characters throughout the story and who they are. So it really breaks everything down here. It does have a few pictures in this as well, which I actually really liked. You don't see too many pictures when it comes to high school courses anymore, especially when it comes to language arts. So I really like that about this, this book study. Here is that little article that they're reading, Discerning the Value of Literature here, the moral value of books. Now, I do want to say, because there are people that feel differently about what they allow their children to read. I'm not the type that kind of like bans books from our home either. So keep that in mind. I know The Good and the Beautiful talks a lot about, the value of a good book and, not having certain information in the books that your student is going to be reading, but I don't necessarily follow that. So just keep that in mind that I do use this slightly different than the way they had intended it. So, but again, that's the beauty of homeschooling. I can make that choice for my kids on my own, but she will be working through, reading about the moral value of books, even though it's not always something we necessarily stick to, if that makes sense. Now, it does also let your student know, there we go, that, there is the Good and the Beautiful book list that they can choose books from. It talks about, giving, squeaky clean reviews here on books. And then there is an assignment at the bottom of this page. They're asked to highlight phrases, sentences, or passages that stand out. Okay, and then after they complete section 1, they will go into section 2. Now in section 2, they have the list of activities or work that they need to complete for this section. And again, they have those nice little check boxes that your child could check off as they complete them. But for section 2, they will complete the vocabulary activity in this section. They will read the literary analysis portion of the section. They will read chapters 10 through 15 of Little Men. They will complete the themes and messages in the activity section, and then they will read and analyze the example response paper that's in here. And then it just kind of gives them a little note that they will be writing their own response paper in section 3. So it kind of gives them that little side note there to kind of prep them, kind of get them ready for that. But now it jumps straight into the vocabulary activity. Now, what I liked about this is I find that a lot of curriculum kind of uses the same vocabulary activity over and over again. But in this one, in that first section, they were circling which word for which sentence. Now the activity for the vocabulary in this section is writing out the definition of each word. So it does get changed up a little bit. They're not doing the same activity over and over again for vocabulary. So I really like that. And again, it does tell them that they can reference, pages 3 and 4, which here's page 3. And here's page 4 that has all of their vocabulary words. So everything you need is pretty much in this book, which is really, really nice. Now, after that, they have their literary analysis that they read through. Again, this is going to go over things about, breaking up and diving deeper into the story. So it is going to talk about sensory language, similes, alliteration. There's a lot in here that your student or your child is going to be, breaking down. And they do use quotes and all of that and paragraphs throughout the story to tie in everything. So we really, really like that. Again, it is a book study. So if this is a book that your student isn't going to be interested in, you might want to choose a different one because they are going to be diving deep in this honors book study. Now, after that, they have the themes and messages for throughout the book. Again, it's just more reading, and they talk about certain areas, like certain chapters of the book they make references to, and kind of like giving your student and child the opportunity to really think about what's being written throughout the story. So I like that. I like that they're kind of dissecting the way the book is written, kind of how things were worded. I just think it's a really good way for your student to like really understand that value, the themes and the messages of good literature. Now, I do want to say that with this one, I forgot to mention when I seen it earlier in here, but they have like these little little picture, little icon, whatever you want to call this, but it looks like 3 people. Now, this little symbol that you see, it's actually kind of neat that they added this in here. They give you ideas on what you can do if you're using this book study in a group. So like for here, when you see this symbol, it talks about, if you're doing this in a group, here's something you could do as a group discussion, complete these discussion questions within the group. So they do have a way that you can use this, as independent, your student doing it alone, or if you have multiple students wanting to work on this together, there are, little ideas in here, which I thought was really nice as well. So here is the example of the response paper, it really breaks down kind of like how the response paper is written, which I think is really, really helpful. So it gives a lot of information just, you know, in this one example. So we do really like, again, the setup and the information in here. Here is some more of that example of that response paper. Okay, so once they're done with section 2, they move into section 3. And in section 3, this is the last section that they will be completing. And here is the work that they are expected to do. They have complete the vocabulary activity in this section, read the author study pages in this section, which I love they added in, read chapters 16 through 21, which is basically the rest of the book, and then they will complete writing a response paper. They will do that activity in here as well. So again, it starts off with vocabulary, and this is a different activity that they will be completing. They have to use the vocabulary words in a sentence now. So again, it is different. And then there's also this vocabulary activity is where they match up, you know, which word goes with which, you know, definition basically. So it's like, you know, draw a line type of situation here. Now, this is the part that I'm really interested in as well when it comes to reading. I always love learning about the authors of books that I've enjoyed. So I love that they have this brief biography of the author. And again, a picture. I love pictures too. So here's that. Again, it is very brief, but it does have a lot of fantastic information about the author in here. And then here is the activity of writing the response paper. So it gives them, you know, pretty much, you know, what they're expected to write. And then again, another example of a response paper. Which, so for my daughter, I know that she's really going to appreciate having these examples as well before she writes her own paper. And again, they have notes and explanations all throughout the example. And then here it is at the very end. It is going to ask them to write their own response paper, but it gives them topics to choose from. And then also it asks them to, you know, make sure that they are using certain things throughout their writing. So they are asking for them to, you know, use an attention grabbing opening, to, you know, make sure that you mention the title and the author in your opening paragraph. So there's a lot of instruction to help guide your student along writing this research paper. So I just think that this is really, really fantastic. We were really excited to get our hands on this one, and my daughter is really excited to get started on it. In fact, she will be probably starting this right after spring break. We take our spring break in March, and she's really looking forward to this because, okay, so that is it for today. That is what one of the high school honors book studies from The Good and the Beautiful looks like. Again, we are really excited to start this one. I can't wait for my daughter. My daughter always likes to come out and talk about what she's read in a day, so I can't wait for her to do that with this book. But if you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by. You have a great day. Bye.